Hey friends, welcome back to the channel, Evergreen Organics. Dudes, I got another exciting one for you. This is a RIPSAW ported MS261. I just want to start out by saying I am not sponsored by RIPSAW. I'm not endorsed in any way. They don't pay me to make these videos, although at this point they probably should. If I had to choose one chainsaw, and I could only have one for the rest of my life to use for anything, I would pick an MS261. I think it's the most versatile saw that's out there. I don't own an MS261. This is my friend's saw, my same buddy that owns the 661 Magnum, the one that I did the RIPSAW video on. I will leave a card for that if you guys want to check out that video. But I have an MS260 that I ported myself, and I love that saw. It's my workhorse. I've put more hours on that saw than any other saw. So today we've got the MS261. We've got the 3-point felling dogs from Westcoast Saws. We've got the 6061, I think, aluminum, aircraft aluminum clutch cover. I don't know, I called this thing chrome on another video and somebody corrected me on it. Like it really matters. It's an aluminum clutch cover made by Westcoast Saws. It's supposed to be much more durable. Larger for throwing out chips. We've got a skid plate, aluminum skid plate that's going on the bottom. These you can pick up on eBay. They're like aftermarket thing. And then Westcoast Saws came out with a cleanable air filter system that is kind of similar to like the Max Flow kits that go on the bigger saws. So they have one for this 261, and allegedly you can still put the cover back on it without having to do any modifications to the cover. So we'll give that a try. I'm going to get all this stuff installed on here, and then we'll take a look. And unlike the last video, I promise you guys I will put this saw in wood in real time. Couple things really quick I just want to clarify. I had some commenters on my last RIPSAW video talking about how unbelievably expensive RIPSAW is. I have never bought RIPSAW myself, so I do my own porting, you know, call it what it is. People are like, oh, $700 to get your saw ported by RIPSAW. You know, it's like, okay, if you want to send your own saw into RIPSAW and have them do just a wood port on it, I believe it's $300. So I can't remember exactly all the stuff that they said that they do for this model of saw. I'm assuming they do advanced timing. I think they run down the cylinder on a lathe to increase the compression, all that good stuff. Intake, exhaust, transfer, smoothing. First things first, I'm going to get the 3-point felling dogs on here. I don't personally own these 3-point felling dogs. Guys love them. I mean, you can get them for saws all the way from the 661 even to like this little 2511 Echo saw. You can get the 3-point. I don't know why you would need a 3-point dog for a saw like this, but I'm just saying they make it. They make all sorts of wild stuff for, you know, for every kind of saw. I mean, like, so check this out. This is a pipe for this saw. I'm going to do another video on that, or maybe I'll even sneak it in at the end of this video. We'll see how things go, but this is from Egan. They make the straight shot, Egan Performance Parts or Saws or whatever they call that company, so I might try throwing this on here. I mean, what a dumb thing. Like, let's put a pipe on a top handle saw. I mean, but, you know, we're chainsaw heads, so we're going to do that kind of shit. So anyways, let's get into it. Any of these aftermarket dogs, Westcoast Saws makes these 3-point felling dogs. I also found out that like the 3-point, the 4-point Pro dogs, you can get all these on Bailey's online as well. It's not just Westcoast Saws that makes these. They don't have a patent for it. They have an alleged patent pending for their bark box, but I have no idea how that would ever go through because technically you can't, according to EPA regulations, put a bark box on your saw, right? Because then your saw violates EPA regulations, so therefore bark boxes are novelty items for whatever, exhibition or whatever they call it. So anyways, I think you can get these cheaper outside of Westcoast Saws. I'm also not sponsored by Westcoast Saws, although I love them, and I think Gordy makes really great products, and I run Westcoast Saws stuff on my saws. If you are thinking about buying aftermarket dogs, I don't know about anything other than the 661, which I bought the 4-point Pro felling dogs for, but I tried to take the hardware off of the dogs that are on my 661, and one of these nuts is tack welded onto the dog. So I had to put it in a vise and break the nut off, and then I had to run an impact driver on it. It was kind of a disaster. So I think it's like an extra couple bucks to get the hardware from Westcoast Saws. Just do yourself a favor and get the damn hardware. The other thing that I do have is I've got a chain catch that's going to go with this. Now, particular to the Westcoast Saws website, if you use a chain catch, it gives you a 6-month warranty on these dogs. And let me tell you, these things are easier than you think to bend. My 4-point Pro dogs, I bent them on the first giant white pine that I felled with it. It just, I was a little frustrated about it. But they're giant, oversized dogs, so the more they stick out, the more likely they are to bend. Anyways, do yourself a favor, get the hardware. Alright guys, one thing about this clutch cover that I really like, captive bar nuts. Not all models of these have them. The reason I don't have one of these on my 661 is because they don't have captive nuts. They're not available. They're available for, I think, the 261 all the way through the 462 and the 500i. Don't quote me on that, but I think this is really crucial. I don't want to be having to worry about dropping these things when I'm out in the woods cutting. So I wasn't aware that they made any of them with captive nuts the last time I made a video on it, but still waiting on them 661s, and then I'd be happy to buy a clutch cover, but in the meantime, I'll stick with the clutch cover I have because of this. Okay guys, we got the inside dog on. I mean, check that out. Look how much bigger those dogs are. The only I've discovered the kind of the one downside to these aftermarket dogs is the very bottom spike sticks downward, and trying to like load these things in the back of your pickup truck or whatever, you end up just stabbing these dogs into all sorts of stuff that you don't mean to. But you know, what are you gonna do? I mean, I think that they serve a really good purpose, especially for the kind of logging that I do. Is a lot of it is pine, and so it's really thick bark you're dealing with, and that's kind of what these are for. So we'll get into putting this clutch cover on next. I'll bring you guys on in, and we'll get that outside dog on. Now, I made the mistake last time that I did these. I believe I just set the nuts in here in these two little holes, and I think that you have to actually put the bolts through there. The little plastic pieces that cover up those, or actually those plastic pieces go here and here. I think these covered up those bolts on the 661, but I'll get these little plastic pieces pulled off real quick, and then we'll get them set into here. In the meantime, we can drop this chip deflector on the back. You can see the difference in size between the two chip deflectors. I mean, this one is much bigger. My only gripe about the chip deflector is, and it's not that big of a deal because this thing bends. I think the 661 was stiffer, but this makes your saw sit a little bit crooked when you're just laying it in something, which is not the end of the world. Okay, I stand corrected. That's right. That comes with new ones. So you don't have to pull them off of the existing clutch cover. Maybe that's a change that's been made. Let's look and make sure that these are identical. And it looks like they are. This one's going to go this way, and this one's going to go this way. Okay, so one of the crucial things about this, if I remember correctly, is you want to get these screws on loosely, and you finish tightening them down after the chain catch has been aligned, because otherwise you run the risk of misaligning the chain catch, and then the next time you take your clutch cover off, it's not quite aligned, and you go and cinch down these bar nuts, and you'll end up bending the dog out, which I want to say has never happened to me, but it has. I just realized these nuts are shouldered on one side. Okay, so we still have that little bit of play in there. Crucial for our chain catch. Alright, I want to just bring this in quick so you guys can see the hardware. Okay, so it looks like we've got like a little shoulder piece that's going to go and fit inside of that bottom eye on the 3-point dog. And then we've just got a nut, we've got a bolt that's going to actually hold our chain catch in place, and then it looks like a little C-clamp. So I'm going to be really careful when putting the C-clamp on. Alright, dudes, I think we're getting somewhere. Chrome or 6061 aircraft aluminum, whatever you want to call it, clutch cover. I think all the gunk is on it. Alright, look at that. So right here, we want to have this peg or whatever you call it, go through to the inside dog. Well, right, this outside dog is still loose. I haven't finished tightening up these nuts, but this is how you get everything perfectly aligned. So I have my bar on. I'll get my bar cinched down. Now I should be able to just tighten these down. I can figure out how to use a wrench, like a doofus. There we go. Real quick, I just want to turn this over, turn this down. This is what I was talking about earlier. See that chip deflector? That's the bottom of the saw. This chip deflector sticks down. It is what it is. I mean, I almost wonder if it would be any different to run the saw without it at all. I don't know about on a 261 how far they are going to be flying chips. I know my 661 will throw chips like 20 feet. We'll get the skid plate put on this thing and get the new air filter on it, and we'll get this thing buried in some wood. So yeah, as you can see, this is like basically a brand new saw. This is a big upgrade from the MS260 filters. Looks like I have to remove the two nuts on the back of the baffle. Looks like this piece comes out. I've got the two nuts. Those are going to be set aside. Here's your carburetor. Now that this is opened up, the next thing that I'm going to do is I have to oil this filter. What I use is this stuff, biodegradable no-toil filter oil. It comes in a set. Comes with cleaner. I don't know, this was like 12 or 15 bucks or something. It's not that expensive. Be careful of this stuff. This cap came loose and I ended up spilling a bunch of it all over the back of my car. That's another story. It smells like rotting peaches, and I thought I had rotting peaches somewhere inside of my car, and it turned out to be this filter oil. It spilled all over in the trunk of my car. So, good times. Alright guys, I already did a video on this. If you guys want a little bit more of an in-depth video on oiling up these filters, check out my RIPSAW ported Stihl 661 Westcoast saw trim video. But one thing that I'll bring up that I brought up in the last video is this stuff is horribly difficult to get off of your hands. So I don't know where a pair of rubber gloves is right now, otherwise I would be using rubber gloves. This stuff is just an absolute nightmare. It's sticky, it's nasty, so I'm going to try my best to get this contained, keep this contained within this bag. Essentially what you want to do is you want to have this thing completely penetrated with oil, squeeze out the excess oil, and then you're good to go. You don't want this to be over or under saturated. So I just smush this around until it looks like it's pretty evenly distributed. The other ones on the bigger saws, this rubber piece is not like an integral part. This is like glued onto this foam filter, so it's not a perfect setup here, because this is going to be kind of a sticky mess. But yeah, for whatever reason, this stuff smells like a dentist's office when you're up close, and then when it's in the trunk of your car and you don't know it, it smells like rotten peaches. So actually what happened was my buddy Forrest, I was over at his house filming, and the neighbors have a peach tree, and his mother was kind enough to give me a box of peaches, and I took them home, and my wife made a awesome peach pie. It was really great, and then my car started to develop this funky smell, and I was convinced that one of the peaches had rolled out of the case and rolled down somewhere weird in my car, and I couldn't find it, and I proceeded to look and look and look for a couple months, and I never did find a peach. But what I did find was this bottle sitting in the back of my car, tipped over on its side, leaking out, and it's a little bit of a rotten peachy smell. A little bit between dental tool and rotten peach. Delicious. Looks like now we're going to reinstall these two nuts right back onto the carburetor. Okay, we've got our two nuts installed back on either side of the carburetor. My filter has been oiled and squeezed out, and now I will try my best to install this without completely covering myself in gunk. Looks like I need... Alright dudes, well this saw is almost ready to rock. I've got just a couple other things to do. I'm going to put a skid plate on the bottom of it. I gotta replace this cylinder cover. Whoa, that barely fits on there. Barely. Awesome. Good looking machine. Looks like there's two T27 screws that are right here on the front of the saw that hold the handle on. I'm going to pop these out real quick. And here we go. Okay guys, there you have it. MS261, 3-point dogs, aftermarket, aircraft aluminum, clutch cover, Westcoast saws, air cleaner system, ready to go. I am going to call it for the night, and then tomorrow, when we have some daylight, we'll get this thing buried in some wood. Okay dudes, here we go. I've got the 261 RIPSAW ported. I've got just a big old piece of eastern white pine right here, and I'm going to bury the saw and we'll see how it does. I don't know, dudes, like, if that don't make your dick wiggle just a little bit, then maybe you don't like chainsaws. I don't know, but that thing is wild. I would put that up against a stock 500i any day. I cannot believe the power to weight ratio of that saw. That is just killer. I don't know. Hey, if you guys enjoyed this content and you want to see some more stuff like this, please consider giving me a like and a subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Have you guys ever tried a RIPSAW? Do you own your own ported saw? Do you do your own port work? I gotta say, hot saws are fun. I don't know. Once you run a ported saw one time, you're never gonna want to run a stock saw again. I mean, that thing is twice as powerful as a stock 261. It's incredible. I'll even say it's a lot more powerful than my Woods ported 260. That thing is just wild. You guys, you know, the footage don't lie. I mean, I know that's only pine I was burying it in, but man, it was just eating it. I can't speak highly enough. I know guys come on here and they want to talk about how expensive RIPSAWs are and how they cost more than other saw builders, and you know, it's not just the fact that they do a woods porting. You know, they do jetting, they do timing, they also have customer service, and they warranty their work. I don't know anywhere else that you're going to get a hot saw that's going to be warranted. You know, as soon as you touch the muffler or you start grinding on the cylinder of a saw, you've voided the manufacturer's warranty. And so what are you left with? You buy a brand new 661 and you decide you're going to try your hand at cylinder work, and all of a sudden you grind that thing too far and it starts free porting and your saw don't run, you're screwed. You know, you can't just take it back to the dealership and be like, yeah, I tried porting this thing and I don't know, it's free porting, it doesn't work now. You know, it's just... So anyways, say what you want about RIPSAW and their price. They offer great customer service. They do more than just grind on your, you know, intake and exhaust. They make a killer saw. Anyways, you guys, thanks for checking out my video. Thanks for checking out my little channel. Please give a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.